Some people collect stamps. I collect market transformations. My name is Jonathan Buckley, and I'm the principal consultant at the Artesian Network. I've been a fractional CEO and CMO for the last 15 years after a steady history as a CMO for companies public and private in the tech sector in Silicon Valley. I've helped companies scale from scrappy startups to post-IPO enterprises with probably about 3 to 5 billion in client exits in total. Some of these have been in direct sales models, some have been in channel models, some have been product-led growth or PLG, and actually a couple have been OEM models where you sell to a manufacturer that embeds it in their own product offering. It's important to understand the differences between these three models, these four models actually, when selling to the enterprise. When appropriate, direct sales has a very strict methodology and mathematics included in it. For instance, we know when selling to the enterprise in large sales, we have to hit 6 to 7 constituents, buying constituents, about 5 to 6 times before we can trigger an interest that has a statistical probability of going to the outcome we want, which is a sale. So you set up systems and processes, the content, the messaging and positioning, all aimed at hitting your mathematical model. So if you're speaking to 6 to 7 individuals or constituents in a particular enterprise, of course, you're going to have 6 to 7 different talk tracks. For instance, vice presidents and above like to hear how this product or service will enhance their strategic foundation in the market, how it helps them stack up against their competitors. Directors, senior directors, tend to be more affected by discussion about how it affects headcount and budgets. Managers, sometimes staff, are more interested in risk and time reduction as a result of employing the product. So in a direct sales model to the enterprise, keep in mind you're hitting 6 to 7 constituents 5 to 6 times. And those channels to reach them can vary. With a combination, always email is an underpinning. Email marketing is still relevant in this market. Ads on social networks, usually connected with content that you're distributing with your messaging and positioning. Also quite common is promoting webinars or publications. Again, any way you can reach these 6 to 7 constituents in their world. Now, in channel sales models, which are appropriate, especially for the mid-market, say the mid-market works with managed service providers or MSPs. You're really using the MSP as a channel. Your product fits into their portfolio of services or products that are offered to the mid-market. What you're doing is developing messaging for the MSP to use directly to their sales targets, but you're also marketing to grow your MSP base. So for instance, some years ago, a company called Axient in 2010 had but 16, 17 MSPs representing the product. Over the next 2 years, we brought that to a count of 2,000 MSPs. And one of the strategies, ultimately Axient had an exit. It is now a sovereign company again. But one of the strategies was develop a sales portal with materials that the MSPs or the channel partners could use to reformulate their own specific messaging, positioning, and promotion of the company's products. The next model is an OEM model. And this is when your say it's software, or it could be hardware, but they're embedded in an original equipment manufacturer, OEM's equipment. So I've worked in this model many different times. What you're doing is you're selling primarily to the OEM, helping them understand, again, 6 to 7 constituents. It looks like an enterprise sale, 5 to 6 times. It's usually a longer process. You have to afford yourself up to 18 months in an OEM type model because you're fitting into their product life cycle. And you help them understand how your, say, software could enhance the total market value of their end product, their competitive position, and their the overall value perceived in the end product. The next model, of course, emerged in the past number of years has been the product-led growth, or PLG model. And we've worked with this at the Artesian Network a number of times. It's important to have your marketing team fused with your product team, because what happens in PLG is the product itself has some viral attributes to it. In other words, one customer begets another customer, or one user begets another user, and so on and so on. So the sale or value of it has to be apparent and quick. We found that in 15 minutes or less when selling to businesses, your product needs to show value, obvious value, in 15 minutes or less. So obviously, for a PLG model to work, you can't have something that needs a lot of configuration, a lot of sales support to implement. So you look at companies like Slack. Slack is a good example. The more people join Slack, the larger the network grows. It has a network effect. And so the product itself will always have splash screens and other things to let you know of other features or functions, or whether you have to grow your license. You have to jumpstart it in the market in a PLG model, but you should start seeing viral effects if the product is properly suited for that market. You should see the product start to lead the process of developing more leads or more customers ultimately. So PLG flips the script, letting your product do the selling in essence. It's the growth engine behind many of today's breakout SaaS companies. We've worked with a number of them, and it drives adoption, again, very commonly to have free trials or a permanent freemium layer. But over time, the product, again, sells itself. So that is, in a nutshell, the 4 different models for market transformations for your product to go from 0 to 100 million. And again, at the Artesian Network, across our customer base in the last 16 years, over 50% of our clients have ultimately reached IPO or an M&A transaction, a positive exit to their business model. Thank you for joining me today and listening to these market transformations and our approach to the market.